ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूतं यथा निद्रया यस्साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्र्यचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगीव यस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततन्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। So, in Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter is in which Arjuna discovers his disease, and that's a universal disease. I mean, every human being is possessing that disease, and the name of the disease is samsara. Very good. So, and what are the characteristics of this samsara? It has 3 stages. Like cancer has certain stages of disease, same way here also there are stages in this disease. The first stage is a stage of attachment, and that has been depicted in the chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita between verses 26 to 28. But before the disease appears, Arjuna goes to a certain situation, so in which the disease manifests in the first stage. And what was the situation, that also we have seen in verse 21 to 25 of the chapter 1. So he tells Bhagavan to place the chariot in between the armies, and so he can clearly watch them. And then Bhagavan definitely placed the chariot of Arjuna, because he was a charioteer, and Arjuna is a master. So then he ordered the charioteer to place between the two, and he placed it. And definitely Bhagavan did some mischief, so he has placed the chariot in front of those people towards whom Arjuna had attachment, definitely. A very strong, that's his weakness, very intense attachment he was having for the others also, but especially Bhishma and Drona. For them he is having a strong attachment. So we hope that, we thought that the Bhagavan wanted to give a message to the humanity, he wanted to give a medicine for pandemic, let's say, for a pandemic. This is also a pandemic, universal problem. And therefore, once for all, he wanted to give that kind of a medicine. And so he wanted to make Arjuna as a nimitta for that. And then definitely this attachment arose in Arjuna. And then what is this attachment? That also we have seen. The first, this emotional dependence or a psychological dependence, that's nothing but a weakness. For your happiness, you rely on external factors. That is called attachment. Attachment is nothing but for your happiness, you always rely on something which is external. And that is nothing wrong also. If you rely on external factors for your happiness is fine. But the external factors on which you rely are perishable, very impermanent thing. And therefore, then ultimately you are going to suffer. And therefore, so the first thing is this attachment. And that was there in verse 26 to, I think, 28, yes. And afterwards, definitely it's going to, show the other characteristic that stage 2 is a sorrow. Definitely. Because you yourself see, Arjuna could see that these people would not be there. Either I would not survive after the war, or these people would not survive. And he could not imagine himself without these people being around. That was the situation. So he just imagined that after the war, perhaps I may survive because I could fight well and we may have a victory, etc. And that was his confidence also. He has expressed in the chapter 1 also. So then these people would not survive. Then what will I do with these people? Without these people, what will I do? That itself, the absence of that has brought a sorrow. That shows his happiness is dependent upon them. And so verse 26 to 28 indicate that problem of a raga, attachment. And we also added in that the physically you have to depend upon the world. Emotionally you can become independent. Well, that also looks very, 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 very theoretical situation. That for happiness, I don't depend upon external things, but I myself is enough to become happy person. I can be happy person with myself. That kind of a thing. And that is been shown in chapter 2, while describing the characteristic of a wise man, Bhagavan said also, Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. He is happy by himself. That shows he is not dependent on external objects for happiness. That Tushtaha means satisfied, happy. So it is possible. It looks impossible because we are so addicted. Definitely, from the birth and from the previous lives also, we are always addicted, not only for livelihood, we are dependent on the other external objects, but for happiness also, security also, we are dependent. Definitely. So this has formed a habit. Whenever I look for security or when I feel insecure or unhappy, definitely I look out to the external factors, situations, people for getting security or getting happiness. And therefore, once you are addicted, then you will find difficult to come out of that, to come out of this attitude of dependency. So, but one can come out. We always tell that even if you find so difficult, it's a challenging thing to discover happiness within yourself and not to depend on something else outside. Well, it may take some time because you are addicted otherwise. Therefore, and then we give example also, like a person who is, addicted to a cigarette, etc. He says, without cigarette, there is no life for me. I'm zero without this. Well, we say him before few years, before that, when you are not taking cigarette, well, you are living a full life. So without cigarette, you lived life. And now you are saying that if cigarettes won't be there, I could not live. Or without wine, I could not live, or whatever. Whatever the thing, I could not live. That addiction is a problem. Not that this is some hypothetical situation like that. So, one has to come out. Definitely, physically, one will remain dependent throughout the life. And there is no scope one can become physically independent. Because the body, etc., is survived through the factors, through the objects of the world only. Because it's made up of 5 elements, and the world also is, world of objects also 5 elements. So, to have a nourishment of the body, etc., you definitely need those objects. And therefore, physically, one need not become independent also, and one can't become independent also. One cannot become. But emotionally one can become, even though it looks very hypothetical situation. But more you discover your nature, more you come to know that what's your dimension, what you are basically by nature. Well, to that extent you become free from the hold of external objects for happiness or security, because you discover security and happiness within yourself. Within yourself means not within yourself means in heart and stomach, etc. Within yourself means centered on oneself. Centered on oneself, one discovers, and to that extent one becomes free from the hold of external objects, and therefore one can become free. That's possible. So first problem is attachment, dependency. Then definitely if that is there, that is going to bring shoka, sorrow also. That has been described in chapter 1 between verses 28 to 35. And then shokaha is also called vishadaha. And therefore this first chapter's name is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And here why sorrow arises? Because that emotional leaning of, the objects on which you have leaned emotionally, they themselves are unpredictable also. Impermanent is one thing, but unpredictable. Like emotionally you are dependent on some person, but a person may be in such a situation where he says, I need your support. Instead of you giving a support to him, he is asking emotional support from you. And therefore that creates a very typical situation. For a person you want to hold on to for security, he says, I need security from you. Well, if I go to some person, like, they give an example. If I go to some person for money, says, you give me some $1,000, I'm in bad need of you. You went to your friend, and you just talk to him, you reach to his home and you talk to him. Oh, he said, I was about to come to your place. Why? Because I myself needs, $2,000 right now. Therefore, I was about to come to you to ask for the money. Well, that's not going to help then, right? To whom you go for the money, he says, I was coming to you for the money. So this is the situation, really. So the leaning emotionally anywhere, that emotional leaning is in terms of these two things, security and happiness. Basically these two only. We say emotional leaning, other things are included, love and other things, compassion. I want compassion, I want forgiveness from the people. People should accommodate me, people should not complain about me, people should love me, etc., etc. That is all there, definitely. But basically these two things. Because somebody shows a love to you, you feel happy. Somebody forgives you, become happy. So ultimately dependency for happiness only. So I could not clarify at that time. Emotional leaning means there are many emotions. So then we did not much specify because I just forgot it. But any emotion ultimately will result into a proper emotion, a favorable to you, then definitely become happy person. So ultimately for happiness you lean upon others. That's for sure. And then this second stage of the disease is the shokaha or vishadaha. So Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And Arjuna also faced the same problem because now they are going to die. He has never thought. This is how the things are, When somebody dies, you think that you are also going to die because you are also this. Like he is on the fire because there they put on fire in India, Hindus. So one day my situation also will be like that. For a moment you feel that you are also time bound. You are also going to be in the same situation. But somehow once you come out of the cremation ground and go to home and start eating bhajiyas, all samosas and everything, and all dosa and everything, and you forget that you are going to die. We always give advice to others to take care, but we never feel that we are, as if we have brought some kind of by birth we are going to be like, having a, what we call amrutatvam kind of a thing. We are going immortal. As if we are immortal. That way we are moving around. Bhartrihari Maharaj says at one place, looking at these people in the world, I feel they are all intoxicated. They never realize that the life is very, very transient. It's not that the death waits for the old age. Death come at any moment to the door. It is, we see that also. But we feel always that we are going to live a long. There is a reason for that. Why we have that kind of a feeling. We are discussing and we'll discuss also. It's a very genuine thing. Even though it's a mistake, but very genuine. It's a confusion of the self only. Basically, it's a confusion, which is very time bound. You feel it is as though is a timeless. So it's a confusion, basically. But anyway, so Arjuna also had never thought of that these people would not be there after a few days. Because war has been declared, all the conches have been blown, and therefore, it's a situation of a tough fight, and this is going to happen. And so he just imagined his life after the war without these people. He just imagined and brought sorrow to his mind. So the second stage of disease is this. And what's the intensity of the sorrow? Well, depending upon intensity of the attachment, as much as the intensity of the attachment, so much the intensity of sorrow. More the intensity, more attachment, more sorrow. People sometimes they just can't think without a person, and suppose a person goes, he passes away, and then they think that there is no existence of him. Think like that. And it's in certain situation, person doesn't live long also. That kind of a situation also I have also seen, you might have also seen. So this is strong attachment, brings a strong sorrow. So the first stage of the disease is, if it is a very intense, the second stage also is going to be very, very intense. And therefore, and if that intensity in the first stage itself is very, very strong, you have a habit, strong habit, let's say, addicted on the for happiness, that you are addicted on the external objects. If it is very intense, it will take time to come out of the habit. So withdrawal symptoms also will be very, very strong. And that withdrawal symptoms, if you see, the people, they try to make them come out of the drugs and drug habits, and their withdrawal symptoms are very strong, very, very strong. In this country, it is, I think, more prevalent, drug, etc. It is very, very pathetic. That's called sorrow. Withdrawal symptoms from that, if one tries, it is so painful, if you cannot imagine even. So attachment automatically brings to sorrow. Second stage. And if the sorrow is so powerful that it can even manifest at the level of a physical body, which has manifested in case of Arjuna, that shows a attachment towards these two, especially Bhishma and Drona and other people, also definitely relatives, was so strong that it has brought a intense sorrow, and that intense sorrow has been manifested in the body, and it has been shown in the verses. Gandivam sramsate hastat tvakchaiva paridahyate, etc., etc. And all this, my skin is burning, and it has fallen, bow and arrow, both, everything has fallen. So that's the second stage. And then third stage of the disease is shown between verse 36 to 47, in which this raga and shoka, attachment and the sorrow, will bring moha, delusion, indecision, etc., confusion, conflict, all this you can say. So, not able to know what to do now. But you will not be able to know unless somebody guides you. You can't do anything. Even though you are a very strong person, intelligent also, and physically strong, very, very accomplished person also. But in particular situation, when these two overflows in your mind, this third thing, delusion, will automatically there. You cannot decide. This is the person who used to decide for others in many occasions, in very critical situation. Even he may be working in a company where very critical problems are there, he used to solve it like that. Now a situation has come, he is not able to solve. That's called moha, delusion. So, this is aviveka, and so then he could not decide whether to fight, not to fight, etc. And not only that, since delusion also brings the entire different kind of picture in your mind. You look upon dharma as a dharma and adharma as a dharma, etc. I mean, what is right, what is wrong, that also you can't know. Your mind comes to that state. And that's how he described also. He sees dharma yuddha as a dharma. And adharma, for that, he think this, by killing these adharmic people, by killing the criminals, I will incur papam. I will incur, this papam. That's what he said. Papam eva ashrayet asman hatva etan atatainah. I mean, by killing these criminals, we will incur papam. We will get papam. Well, criminals, by killing good people, you may get papam. If you say that's fine. Killing criminals, and atatai means hardcore criminals. That's really, because they have done all kinds of papams. That's called atatai. There is a beautiful verse. We need not go, but there is a beautiful verse who has taken somebody's land and somebody's wife and this and that and like that. Who has given poison and tried to kill others, and they describe that way. They may have done what all possible papas of the earth. So that's called atatai. And this is moha. By killing criminals, hardcore criminals. You are kshatriya. You are in a war also. And for kshatriya, there is a license. If it is told in the Dharma Shastra that if a adata is coming, there is no war, etc., but he is coming in the street, and you know for sure that this is a hardcore criminal. If you are a kshatriya and if you have a weapon, you should kill right there in the street. Need not be declaration of a war, etc. Nothing. Such a license has been given by the Dharma Shastra. And if he kills, well, and if you protect dharma by that way, well, the doors of heaven are open for you. I mean, that has been, I think, imported from our scriptures and gone to somebody's religion, and they might have all this. That's what I feel, maybe, whatever. But so this is a moha. This is kind of a moha was there, and this is a moha number one, delusion number one. Then second also we saw, second confusion is that kshatriya gives up a righteous action that is called protection of dharma or giving up the war and runs away from the war. Well, and so you are running away from your own duty, which has been told by the Dharma Shastra also, you will incur papam. He says, by not killing these people, will be saved from the papam. No, if you don't kill them, you will incur papam. That's what it is. So, entire confusion. That's what it is. Anyway, so dharma, adharma, viveka. Basically, here in Shastra, delusion we talk about in terms of dharma, adharma, viveka. So, and definitely you cannot decide also. A capacity to decide goes away. Any time in our mind, if we could not see the situation clearly and thereby we cannot decide clearly, well, we should understand it is delusion. And that delusion has a root in attachment somewhere, wherever. Sometimes person doesn't want to go to other city or other state. He is getting a good job and he is getting good salary and everything, good position. But just not going because of attachment for either family cannot go. Suppose family cannot, because there's children are studying and these and this person say, I cannot even live without all of you. He tells to his wife, I cannot live without all of you and children with even a single day. Well, so he cannot decide now. Even though he has gotten letter that you can joining later he has got good opportunity, but he won't go. He won't go. Or he won't go, that's another thing. He could not decide. He asked to somebody then, he consults somebody. What should I do? Should I go or not go? That's confusion. That's an indecision because of attachment to somewhere. Somebody has some other place attachment. So that always brings this kind of a confusion, conflict in our mind. This is very common. So that's how we say this disease is very, very common. We need not invite war for the disease, the characteristic of disease to appear. In a simple situations, we sometimes have this kind of a, because attachment is so rampant in our life for various objects. Attachment is rampant. In a simple things we have attachment. Without even the absence of imagination of absence, we could not think of. Maybe people, maybe some inert things also. And so it's so wide. Then it is going to bring sorrow also. It's going to bring conflict, confusion also. And that way it is very common. So this Bhagavad Gita is very, very applicable to all of us. Of course, he has a confusion that these people won't survive, of a death especially. And therefore, this is a second kind of a confusion also is there. And the third thing is, well, as I told you, so when mind is totally confused, having this attachment and sorrow, then intellect cannot do anything. Intellect cannot do. That's what the confusion is. Intellect helps us to decide. But he cannot decide, means intellect is not functioning. Intellect has no capacity to overpower the mind. And in that case, they say, if you can't join, if you cannot find, join the army, that's how it is, they say. So go to the other party and enjoy. So then the intellect starts giving a justification for all that attachment and these things. Why he is taking this decision not to fight. You see, Bhagavan, the main people in the families, they are here. All the male members are here. They are the one who, generally they, all the religious duties and, rituals and all, generally male will sit and she will also sit, but then he has to initiate that. So if they are going to kill, then without them, who will follow the religion in the home? What these children and the women and all, what they will do without these people? And the dharma will come to an end, culture will come to an end, and God, of course, it's a religious culture, and therefore God also, nobody would believe in God, and this happened and that happened. He gave a big lecture to Bhagavan. Independently, that lecture is very good to record and keep in mind and listen again and again. But in this situation, it has come out of the delusion, and he could not cross over. His intellect could not cross over delusion. Well, this is not suitable in this moment. So, we have, this is the disease, this is a disease between, this is of Arjuna. And ultimately, he gave up. He sat down. He has not left. That's a beautiful thing. He has not left the place of war. And then, even so, he discovered the problem, that this is my problem. But Krishna did not give medicine. At the end of chapter 1, we find Bhagavan simply listened his big lecture, and he was also silent, and Arjuna was also silent after speaking too much. He also became silent. So both are there in the chapter. At the end of chapter 1, you find both are silent. That person is sitting and Bhagavan is standing. And you must have seen this kind of a picture in Bhagavad Gita as this one. So why Bhagavan did not, he is a friend of Bhagavan, and so he should give some medicine immediately to lift him or to make him free from the disease. Well, he is waiting for some more. And therefore that chapter 2, initial verses, something happens. Then Bhagavan starts giving the medicine. And what are the things? So first thing at the end of chapter 1, Arjuna has discovered that I have some problem. And the problem is of this sorrow and attachment and delusion, etc. That's called samsara problem. And second thing happened in the chapter 2, in the initial portion, is he discovered that I could not solve the problem on my own. Self-medication will not help. That much He must have taken few tablets, and he thought this is not going, this infection is not going. Then he rushed to the doctor. So and surrender to the doctor. So the second step as such is, I should know that I could not solve the problem on my own. That's called helplessness. Helplessness should arise. And how do you know, Swamiji, helplessness is there on part of Arjuna? He has expressed it in the chapter 2 itself, in the verse 7 or something. Yeah. Karpanya dosho pahatas svabhah. Karpanya means kripanata. Kripanata means helplessness. As such, kripana also has a meaning of a miser person. Kripana means a miser. Describes Shastra, defines kripana, who is a miser, etc. also is described. But here karpanya means helplessness. We'll take it that way. And definitely, when you discover helplessness, very beautiful thing on the part of Arjuna is, rather than feeling helplessness, he decided to take help. That's a very beautiful thing. And so the third stage is surrender. Shishyasteham shadimantam prapanna. I am your disciple. Now I am no more a master of this chariot, and you are not a charioteer. You are a master, and now I am your disciple. And so give me some medication so I can come out of the disease. You can see now, I don't want to discuss, but in today's world also it's the same situation. We could really relate also. People feel helpless. Governments feel helpless, right, to come out of this situation, pandemic situation. Anyway, so I have to surrender to someone. I will give me some hand so I could come out. And then the fourth stage is medication from the Bhagavan. That is from verse number 11. And so we saw that also. Bhagavan Uvacha from verse 11. Ashocyananvashocastvam prajnavadamsha bhashase gatasuna gatasuncha nanushocanti panditaha. Arjuna confused about this dharma, adharma, etc., overwhelmed by sorrow, as with such a disease which has overpowered. Disease has taken as though a total control of the person, of the Arjuna, and he became a Shishya and asked for Shreyas. Shreyas means a solution which is everlasting. It's called Shreyas. And Preha means a solution which gives a temporary relief. Shreyas is something which gives a lasting solution. And so definitely Shreyas is moksha only, which, that's how we described. That, see, if you have a sense of insecurity, sense of, you have a sorrow, etc., then you pick up the objects. Well, that is called preha. That's a temporary solution. You feel also. When you are really feeling insecure, you talk to a person, you make some friends, and remain in the group and all that, then you feel that you feel secure. So it is an immediate solution, and you feel it also. But afterwards you find the situation changes. Because when you discover that kind of a situation, then you slowly lean on these people or the situations or whatever. And they are transient, I told you, either they are unpredictable or they are transient. And so you lean on them and they slowly slide away from. And then you feel again terrible helplessness, terrible. So these situations are there. So therefore, Arjuna, asked for Shreyas. And I am sure that this is the problem every human being has from the beginningless time. And therefore, from the birth itself, several times he might have undergone this kind of a situation in which sorrow was there. He must have done something in order to become free from the sorrow. Various things he might have also acquired for that. And he must have felt insecure also, because once you take body as a self, no way out. No way out what you do. You cannot come out. This is Vedanta. Once you take body as a self, no way to come out of insecurity. There is no solution in the world. Whatever you do, whatever you like, you do. You cannot be secure. In sense of insecurity will not go if you consider body as a self. Because body is insecure. It is time bound. And you say that is you. Well, then no way out. If you make body immortal, timeless, well, then that's different. But that is just a talk. Even Bhagavan could not do that. Bhagavan himself came in a particular form, and then he went back after 100 years or 125 years. Somebody says 125 years, etc. Whatever it may be. Rama may have lived 1,000 years in Treta and he has lived 128 years in Dvapara. Whatever, body is going to perish. That's for sure. So if you consider yourself as a body, well, insecurity centered on that self won't go. So he must have done several efforts to come out of this sense of insecurity, sense of sorrow, and he must have done. But this time he feels that he needs a solution which is everlasting. That's how he has surrendered to Bhagavan. Earlier in situation he has not surrendered. He must have done efforts for removal of a sorrow, for removal of insecurity. Several efforts he might have done. But now he knows that this is a situation in which I could not come out, and therefore he asks for the Shreyas. Shishyasteham shadi mam tvam prapannam. So from shadi, you accept me, and etc. etc. And then we started discussing about what is deserving grief. And we have found the three causes of grief. And one is universal cause, and second is a cultural cause, and third is could you remember? What is the third cause for sorrow? Personal cause. Cultural, personal, and universal. And universal cause of sorrow is just a death. Cultural cause is definitely depending upon the society, etc., depending upon the culture. And personally also there are various objects which becomes a cause of a sorrow. But that is just a personal thing. That's a personal thing. Some person is a cause of sorrow for you, may not be for me, etc., etc. And so these are the three main causes of sorrow. They are called ashocyaha. Ashocyaha. Bhagavan says nothing is a cause of sorrow. No object is a cause of sorrow. No phenomena, including death. Bhagavan has gone to the extreme. So, agatasumsya. Gatasun. Asun, I told you, it is a breath. Gata means gone. So it's a very beautiful thing Bhagavan told, that the prana from the person from whom, the prana has gone. Prana has departed from the body. That is called death. So Bhagavan has not brought Atma into the picture. Bhagavan has not told that Atma dies, Atma leaves the body. That's what generally people feel. Jiva leaves the body. There it has a place. But basically here Bhagavan talks in terms of just breath only. So breath and birth and death has a relation with the breath, not with the Atma. Atma has nothing to do with birth and death. That's what Bhagavan wanted to convey. Agata sun. Asu means prana, agata, not gone. Gatam is gone. Agata, not gone. Generally when you add etc., it gives a sense of a negation. It is also used in the sense of for a small thing also. Sometimes they use this, but here is added to show a negative. It's a negative particle for here, and therefore the persons from whose body has from the prana has gone or not gone, etc. From those who are born and those who are dead, and those who are alive. Let's say not born. Those who are alive and those who are dead, for anybody, he doesn't grieve. So Bhagavan has taken out of the three causes of sorrow, he has picked up the universal cause of a sorrow. And of course, definitely, the reason also is because Arjuna had the problem. And his whole argument in the chapter 1 revolved around the death. If you see, what he gave a lecture also, he started with this. If these people will not remain, then dharma is going to decline and all that. So his whole argument in the first chapter revolved around death, which has brought a sorrow for him. So Bhagavan started to talk about sorrow. that even the death is also not a cause of sorrow, and any alive person definitely is not a cause of sorrow, etc. Bhagavan started. And we also discussed that if that situation itself is not, the death if doesn't invoke a sorrow from you, the death of a person, loss of a person basically does not invoke a sorrow from you, then loss of any other thing will not be a cause of sorrow, because that's the highest, because it's a universal. And therefore, any other situation in which there is a loss will not cause a sorrow to you, right? And that's how also it has been told that Bhagavan thought of talking about this death itself, that how it is not a cause of a sorrow. Well, if that is gone, other situations will not cause him sorrow. So that's the thing. And the third thing also, Bhagavan wanted to discuss regarding Atma. Because this is Shreyas means a solution which is everlasting, then Bhagavan has to give a knowledge of the self, which is not subject to death. And therefore, if Bhagavan wants to talk about Atma which is not subject to death, he has to start with death itself, that it is not going to cause a sorrow. So these 2-3 reasons are there, 3 reasons because of which Bhagavan has started with the phenomena called death. Well, it is not a subject to sorrow, like that Bhagavan started. Now we also analyzed a situation in which we said, what is the source of a sorrow? Because see, this is how in Vedanta they analyze. They take into account your experience. If I tell you that, he or she tells that I am feeling sorrowful, in my mind is full of sorrow right now, I said it is all mithya. It is nothing like sorrow. Then instead of, removing the sorrow from the mind, he will definitely from the next class, he will stop coming. That is what is happening. Like a person is having addicted to cigarettes. And if I advise that you should not take cigarettes, you are looking like a chain smoker, it's not good for you, etc., etc. It will cause a cancer and all that. And then I hope that he has really listened to me. And he will give up cigarettes. He won't give up cigarettes. He will give up me. Really? He will give up me. Any magazine also, they give articles on advice of, and they will explain, if you take this way, if you take, alcohol, then your liver, etc., will have a cirrhosis, and in cirrhosis this happens, and then ultimately person dies and all that. Then we think that he will really like this article, this person, the drunkard. He will like this. He will not. He will give up this. He will not give up wine. He will give up the magazine. He tells his wife not to keep this magazine on the top of other magazines. He says, throw it out. So this is the situation. No advice is going to work. Really. So one should discover. That's how analysis. Analysis should be there. Inquiry should be there. And inquiry of what? Inquiry of our own experiences. That you are feeling sorrowful, correct. If I say, Hush, this Swami is better. The earlier Swami said all is mithya, there is no sorrow, no joy, this. Well, it won't work. And so, what is the source of sorrow? You are feeling sorrowful is one thing. What is source of sorrow? Source of sorrow would be either myself or the world. We discovered, of course. And if source of sorrow is myself, then by nature I am sorrowful. Well, if I am by nature sorrowful, then it's a matter of a joy, because I remain with my nature. If I become, if I deviate from my nature, all the problems are there. Therefore, if I remain with my nature, which is sorrowful, I will be happy. I have no complaint for being sorrowful. Therefore, but I have a complaint. In fact, I am trying to find the cause in order to remove it also. And it has appeared and it has gone, etc. Whatever may be the reason. So, before sorrow came, you were there. And after sorrow went, you were there. Means you are devoid of sorrow. By nature, you are not sorrow. Right? That also we have discovered. If sorrow is my own nature, we have no cause for sorrow. In fact, we will not try to find the solution also. Being in a natural state, everyone loves to be in a natural state. And therefore, I will be, in fact, happy person being sad. Therefore, so Atma is a source of sorrow, then sadness is not a problem. Then Bhagavad Gita should not be studied at all. To remove sorrow. Why should you remove it? It's your nature. In fact, you cannot remove it also. You cannot remove. Nature cannot be removed. Yeah, I have told you several times that it cannot be removed also. Therefore, whole exercise of classes and everything will be futile. Therefore, really. And therefore, Atma is not a source of sorrow. No, then the only thing is the world is a source of sorrow. That's what I feel. Yeah, world is a source of sorrow. That's correct. That's what, Swamiji, I have lots of complaints about the world. Okay, you have a complaint for some person. Yeah, I have a complaint for some person. And you feel he or she is a source of sorrow? Yeah, he is a source of sorrow. Then it must be sorrow must be his nature. Right? Sorrow must be the nature of the object. If sorrow is the nature of the object, not subject we have seen, but nature of the object, then everyone should feel sorrowful coming in contact with that person. Right? Coming in contact, because like heat is a nature of fire, whoever comes in contact with the fire will definitely experience heat. Right? So then everyone should be feeling sorrowful meeting this person. And you find that some person comes and meets him, and he becomes so much, having so much fun with him, and he's joyful, and therefore for you he is a sorrowful, for someone else he is not a sorrowful. Well, object also has not nature of sorrow. Could you follow? And therefore, either me or either I or either this, aham, idam, either of that is not a source of sorrow. That's what I think that Swami was telling me. That sorrow, there is nothing like sorrow. I think he must be right now. Because there is no source of sorrow. Therefore, sorrow is not there. But I am experiencing sorrow. Not me, the person in front of me also, seeing me also, he becomes sorrowful or she becomes sorrowful. Well, then the experience is there. Then what is the source of sorrow? Then we say, confused self is a source of sorrow. When independently they are not, suppose they are lumped together in a mixie, and they are lumped together, then it becomes a source of. They cannot be lumped, Swamiji. What are you talking about? They cannot be lumped. Why? Because both are of opposite nature. The things of opposite nature cannot be mixed. Cannot be mixed. Try. One is cold like, ice, and and embers. Right. You want to mix together. Kya baat hai? One of them will go. One of them will go. You want to mix up a light and darkness. You cannot. There should be compatibility in mixing. When you mix something, there should be compatibility of the attributes. So here it cannot be. Because I am a conscious being, a consciousness, and the world is inert. Well, it's opposite nature. Right? And therefore, one is the one in whose presence all experience takes place. And the object is something which is experienced. Right? I am the one in presence of whom all experience takes place. All experiences are possible. Any kind of experience is possible because Atma is present. And the objects are something cannot experience anything. They have to be experienced. Right? And therefore opposite nature. Opposite. They cannot be mixed. Then, but I feel the body also is conscious. Body is inert. But I feel conscious right now. It can sense cold. It can sense heat. Everything. So you said one who experiences is a conscious being. Yeah, my body is experiencing heat and cold right now. The body is conscious. Yeah, that's what it is. So two things are mixed up, Swamiji. No. You feel that the two things are mixed up. That's your mind. In your mind they are mixed up, not outside. Not outside. That's what we are inquiring. And therefore, a confused self in which you feel that Atma and Anatma as though lumped together. The attributes of the Anatma and that is Dharma of Anatma and Dharmi also, the locus of the attributes also, all are superimposed upon Atma. Atma is not superimposed. Don't say that. Don't say Atma is superimposed Anatma. Anatma is superimposed. No, no, no. Atma cannot be superimposed. If anything is superimposed, becomes mithya. That is mithya. Like you superimpose snake on a rope, right? Then snake is mithya. What you superimpose is mithya. Then if you say Atma is superimposed upon Anatma, as such Atma is all pervading. How will you superimpose all pervading thing on? So basically what is limited thing can be superimposed upon something which is limitless. That is possible. And therefore this kind of a Atma just being present there imparts its attributes to Anatma. And therefore Atma is eternal, timeless, and you feel body is timeless. Now I am giving you the answer of that. We feel once we come out of the cremation ground and start doing our daily chores and everything, we feel that we are immortal. Then someday something appears in our stomach, then again we feel that this is some problem, some tumor, Swamiji. Oh, I'm undergoing some kind of a procedure and they have given for biopsy and this. And Swamiji, I feel, please pray for me. Yeah. Then again if he comes out and he starts daily chores as if he feels that he has 1,000 years of life. That's due to Atma. Atma is timeless. The timelessness appears in the body. And same way consciousness, that's nature of Atma, appears in the body. So Atma looks, body also looks conscious. Body looks timeless. Everything is due to Atma. So Atma, Anatma, Aviveka. That's just in mind. It has not mixed together. It's in my mind. And why this kind of Aviveka is there? Non-discrimination is there. Because I don't know the real nature. I don't know my nature, real nature. And that is in absence of that. Being ignorant of my nature, well, I take non-self, that is body, etc., as the self. And the attributes of the body also, I take it as a myself. So, if body is female, I take myself female. If body is tall, I take myself tall. If body is fat, I take myself fat. And all other things, inside also. This is a gross body, inside also. So the mind is of a particular kind, well, I take that way. That's how. Senses, prana, everything, I take it on myself. And attributes also of myself. That's how, and this confused self is a locus of sorrow. Because basically, a confused self is a self which is limited all the way. And by nature, I am limitless. And therefore, I try, since it is not my nature, I always struggle to come out of the limitations and feel sorrowful. I am secure, I am happiness, I am fullness. But taking this non-self as a self, I struggle to become secure because this is insecure. This is limited. And so I always wait for the opportunities or moments of joy, experiences of joy in which really I experience myself, dropping all the limitations. And therefore, those experiences, etc., prove that my nature must be something different. And also I love survival, I love happiness, etc. I told you, I love knowledge, means it must be my nature. What I love must be my nature. And therefore, I strive to become happy. I strive to survive. For a long life I strive to get knowledge. Well, Satchit, Ananda, all this is my nature basically. And therefore, confused self is a locus of a sorrow. And that confused self, the entity called confused self doesn't exist. Please understand very well. A confused self doesn't exist. It is just a lumping in the mind. Please understand. Because it is born of ignorance. Anything born of ignorance has no existence. It has no reality. It has a reality for you. It has a reality for you. If, the ignorance of the rope has brought a snake. That's in your mind, not in outside. And not for the other person also. Perhaps he may be seeing the rope only. So what is born of ignorance is just a mental thing. It's just an imagined thing. And therefore, there is no third entity called a confused self. It is just imagination. When you really analyze that confused self, you will have to give attributes to both. And then you find there is nothing left over for the third one. Nothing. Yeah, the consciousness which is here, you give it to Atma. Take your consciousness. Take your consciousness. It feels timelessness, etc. Also, that's his nature. And Atma appears as a body, etc. Oh, that is given to non-self. Atma appears as a man, woman, etc. Oh, they give it to body, that's non-self. Then you find that for the third entity, nothing is left over. It means third entity was not there at all to begin with. There was no third entity. This is third entity being not there appears. That's what mithya is. That's what we started in the morning. That's the thing. Could you follow? Which is really not there but appears as existent thing, because depending upon the existence of something else. And therefore, that is the thing. Could you follow? And therefore Bhagavan said, also not to grieve for, because death, etc. belongs to the non-self, body, etc. You superimpose upon the self, and you really feel that the self is going to die. So you have a confusion regarding the self in your mind, and that's how you are feeling sorrowful, right? That is how Bhagavan has started the topic of, for removal of the sorrow, Bhagavan has taken a phenomena of death. So this is verse 11, and then from 12th verse, etc. we'll see tomorrow, and in few lines we'll see, and then we'll go to the verse also. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.